I'm calling the meeting to order. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law and the governor's March 15th, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Southborough Stewardship Committee will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with a right and/or requirement to attend the meeting can be found on the Town of Southborough's website. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to watch or participate in the meeting may do so in the following manner by finding the meeting at the town website. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on Southborough's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. So our first agenda item tonight is the approval of the minutes from last time. Thank you, Jim, for getting those out. Did anyone have any edits or corrections?
I do. First, it's a question. This is Freddie speaking.
Okay. Hey, Freddie.
It says also attending was Melissa Danza. And I'm just curious if in it should state that she was the admin for the, or whatever, the technical person for the Zoom meeting. I'm not sure if we should clarify, because it's, even though we can ask her a question when she's there, I think it's a little bit of a different role.
Oh, yeah, I think it's fine.
Attending.
I think we could do like parenthetically administrating the Zoom meeting. I haven't looked at other committees and how they record that.
Does Tom know?
As meeting, Zoom meeting administrator.
Yeah, I know. Tom, do you know if that's recorded like that in other?
I have not seen it, so I don't think it's an issue either way.
The Trails Committee doesn't record it either.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
The Trails Committee does not record who moderates.
Right, but Melissa sometimes when she's here is asked to.
Yeah, she plays a dual role sometimes.
Yeah, so I'm fine including her as present and then also administering the Zoom meeting. Any other changes or corrections? Can I have a motion to approve with, as edited, as the discussion edited?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I second the motion.
All in favor? Jim?
I'm in favor.
Jenny?
I'm in favor.
Kat? Freddie?
In favor?
And I'm in favor. The motion passes. All right.
I think when we're making motions, the person who makes the motion needs to say their name and the person who's seconding needs to say their name.
Oh, thanks for the reminder on that, Freddie. Okay, so the next item on our agenda is an Eagle Scout presentation, and we have attendee Nathaniel Boyd. Tom, could you elevate Nathaniel to be a panelist, please? And you are muted, Nathaniel, so you might want to unmute, and you should be able to, with Tom's help, if you wanted to do your PowerPoint here, there's a way to do that. But Nathaniel, why don't you tell us about what you have in mind for Breakneck Hill, and then you may get some questions, or you will get some questions, and we can talk about next steps and things like that.
Let's see this right.
Great. Yep, I can see it.
So my Eco Scout project is to restore trailheads, the trailhead kiosk sign, or make a new one, make new bluebird boxes and install a telescoping pole and mount Kestrel box. I talked with Miss Greenleaf from Stewardship, and I requested this meeting to be in it. I chose this project because I enjoy nature and hiking. I visit the conservation lands because I'm fairly close by. I've noticed that the signboard posts are starting to decay, and some bird boxes were worn and starting to fall. The bird boxes keep some birds in the ecosystem, and they keep them where bird watchers are active in the area. On the left is the signboard from last September, and on the right is a rough estimate of what I'm gonna try to build. This bird box is over right. I noticed that this bird box wasn't falling over, but I've been informed that 6 to 8 of them are there, and some have been falling over, and some wood is deteriorating. My schedule is getting approvals this fall and fundraising fall into the winter, and I'm planning on doing overall planning fall and winter of this year. Planning on building and installing the bird boxes and the kiosk in the spring and summer. I'm recruiting around 20 people total, rotating throughout different weeks in small groups. Installation will require more people than normal on the normal building days, and I'll need a few leaders to help me out with some installation. My goal is to use some nature-friendly building materials. Concrete, I've been told, is allowed since it's easier to use and stays longer. They have materials and supplies outlined in my Scout proposal application, and the materials and building site are going to be needed to be approved by Stewardship. And my total cost estimate and fundraising ideas is materials for the sign and bluebird boxes, as well as the telescoping poles, are $2,100. Some other supplies are $200. Tools and some other costs are around $200. And some fundraising that I'm planning on doing is some dog walking chores, getting some donations, doing some restaurant takeout for charity over at Bertucci's. I've been told that hardware stores aren't effective with the specific materials that I'll need from my troop. And I've gotten other recommendations on where I can get lumber from. Thank you.
Thank you, Nathaniel. Did you get through all the remarks that you hoped to with us?
Yeah.
Okay, so gonna turn to the stewards and invite any questions or comments. And thank you for preparing that that PowerPoint, and appreciate that you reflected our conversation about needing to have things approved by the stewardship, including building materials, design, and location. So anyone from the stewards wanna chime in with a question or comment?
Freddie here.
Okay, Freddie.
So because I can't see what he presented, I am going to request if we can have the PowerPoint presentation emailed. So I don't know if I'm the only one who's not on video tonight, but so that I can look at it, because I really, it was a little bit hard to follow along just listening. Although thank you for the nice presentation. It just is challenging to listen to a PowerPoint presentation without having the documents ahead of time or, available to look at. So is that something we can have before our next meeting?
Nathaniel, is that something that you can email me, the final, because we would also post it alongside our minutes and stuff as something that was presented at the meeting?
Yeah, I'll get that into you a little later tonight.
Thank you. So yes, I can get that out to everybody.
My other question was, I may have missed it. I had a little bit of a barking dog. Were there discussion about the Kestrel box included too?
Yeah.
Is that not part of it, or is it, did I miss it?
No, I do have it in there. It's just, I was mainly focusing on the Bluebird boxes and the kiosk.
Yes, so Nathaniel is aware that I have the Kestrel box and that I can get it to him, and his portion would be the telescoping pole and installation and attaching the box. Is that fair, Nathaniel? Is that what your intent was?
Yeah.
So my comment would be, I had met with a Kestrel expert out there when right before we first got the box, I think. And he had some designs, which I don't know where they are, but for cleaning purposes. And I just want to be sure if this is part of his project, he's aware of how complicated it may be or isn't. I don't know, but it's not just simply on a pole, but it needs to be able to come down so we can clean it out. Was that something he was aware of? And if not, it doesn't, I'm not here to say what needs to be in his project, but if we're going to put the Kestrel box up, we need to be able to clean it, if that's part of his project.
Yeah, the telescoping pole is meant to come down. I've factored that into the part.
Well, that's very thorough. Thank you. It wasn't something I had been aware of till this gentleman told me about it. So thank you. That's all for me.
Okay, Kat, anything?
Yes, would you mind turning the slide back to slide number 4, the image of the kiosk? Thank you. I wanted to understand your design element with the opening on the front face of the kiosk. Was it your intention to have that be a plexiglass or a polycarbonate glass that opens up so it protects the contents? And is that locked, or what was your vision for how that works on the kiosk?
I was thinking plexiglass because I got the idea from another Eagle Scout that did some book boxes to the library.
Okay, great. So one piece of advice, I just worked with a couple Eagle Scouts on a few kiosks, and they found through their research that polycarbonate was preferred over plexiglass. So I would just, put that little tidbit out there for you to kind of see which one is more ideal or would weather the best. And then how do you see that coming together? It looks like it would open up and close. And does it lock? Or how does it fasten? What are your thoughts on how that would be opened up so that we could add maps or things like that, or take them down?
I'm thinking a magnet, but I don't know the intensity, because if it's too weak, then it can just open up with a simple wind.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, that's all I have. I think it's a great design. It looks really nice, and project is
Without seeing it, sorry,
Go ahead, Fred.
it's really hard. Without seeing it, so I can't really comment on the design look, but have the stewards considered not having plexiglass? Because I'm aware of problems, whether it's plexiglass or some other material, opening and shutting, the accessibility to get things up when we want. And maybe there's a material that doesn't fog up, that doesn't get scratched, and that doesn't allow for hazards when you open it up. There was a situation with a bee's nest in one. I'm not sure what is against using just like a cork board.
Yeah, I
Seems
have
more
the same
complicated.
thought. Yeah, that do we need to have the plexiglass that opens and closes? It could hold moisture in there. When with that, there is like the protective roof, and if it was a nice quality of corkboard or something, would that be adequate? Like, do we need the plexiglass? I think that's a legit question.
I think it is, and I'm surprised at how well the existing maps and documents have held up without plexiglass on the existing one. So I think that's a fair question, and it would save expense on the.
Yeah.
Yeah. My experience as a user is when they're behind plexiglass, the visibility is not as good. There's always some distortion walking up to it. I'm not talking, I'm talking about other places, other kiosks that have plexiglass.
Yeah. Freddie, I did text you a picture of this slide in case you can access that. I don't know if you can do both the phone and the.
Well, yes, I am multitasking. Yeah. So what I'm planning on building, it looks like a nice design. If you just take the plexiglass door off, I'm not sure, in my opinion, what value add there is. I've seen stuff get, like we always can laminate anything that's permanent. We even have had really good luck sticking them in just sleeves if it's a temporary notice we needed.
And they make waterproof paper now that you can print on at FedEx Kinko's. Oh boy, oh boy.
So it's just my opinion. It just seems like another thing to deal with. And do we lock it? Do we not lock it?
Yeah,
What's
I
the
think,
value of it?
yeah, I think let's see what other comments and questions. Jenny, anything from you?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't have a strong opinion about the plexiglass. Like I've seen one that was very nice at Rice City Pond in Uxbridge. But I agree that there's like a concern about if we decided to lock it, then who has the key and what if it gets lost? And I agree that the materials that have been up there have held up very well. And yeah, and if we laminate things, then it's probably not really that much of an issue. So, I mean, maybe the hill just kind of, protects it a little bit. I don't know. The one thing I was going to ask was, others may know better than me, but I think it's good, like for bird boxes, to use untreated lumber. So I just wanted to make that point.
Thanks, Jenny. The untreated lumber, yes, and that's, I think Nathaniel's already aware that we will approve all the types of materials that he'll use, so.
Okay, so we're doing the approval at a later meeting?
We can do the approval at a later meeting because we might want an updated design on that kiosk and a more specific list of materials. Jim, did you have anything?
Not really. The plexiglass, I thought about that many times over the years because of unsolicited postings. Sometimes are a little annoying. They put the posts over things that the rules and stuff like that. It's the only advantage that I can think of, but that's not a chronic problem. So you're probably right. We don't need it. That's my only thought.
Okay. All right. So I think those addressed my questions. Also, so Nathaniel, could you, well, first of all, we're asking you to submit the PowerPoint. You can send it to me by email and I will get it out to the committee and it will get posted as part of the public record of this meeting. In addition to that, we're asking you for kind of a couple of updates to the design of the kiosk. Most importantly, that we're thinking that we don't want the doors on hinges for the plexiglass. That's largely what I'm hearing from the committee. And so I'd like to see that design and also maybe a more precise list of the kinds of lumber and things you'll be using for the project so we can be assured that we're comfortable with what you're using up there, and then would be able to have a vote at, I'm just going to ask my committee, is it possible to do like some sort of like tentative vote, assuming these changes get made to our satisfaction? Is that a kind of motion we can make?
I think it
Can I
sounds,
ask,
but Peter DiStefano has raised his hand.
Oh, thank you. Oh, so Tom, can you elevate Peter DiStefano to panelist so we can hear from him?
Yes, just give me a moment.
Thank you. Thanks, Kat.
while we're waiting for that, can I ask another question? I thought all material on the conservation land was untreated, was our requirement in the past, not just the bird boxes.
That could be, yeah. I'm not sure. I don't know.
I can address that.
Okay.
Peter?
So just in the past, we've done several things up there, and with one exception, we have indeed used non-treated wood. And I think, well, let me just back up a half step here. First of all, thanks to everybody for taking the time. Nathan. He has presented this to the troop, and the troop committee from which I am on, and I will be his coach, has generally approved it pending your approval, and fully agree that the supplies and a little bit more detail, which we've always also asked for, as well as a better budget, we can make that forthcoming to you. Just one other comment. The Troop 92, but not Boy Scouts of America, requires a letter from you folks, the beneficiary, stating that you approve this. And dear Nathan, thanks for doing this. We look forward to working with you on the project. I hope that's okay. And
Yeah, we've worked with Eagle Scout candidates in the past, and I've always
okay.
done that. Yeah.
So I just wanted to make sure that you knew that the troop head has seen this and has tacitly approved it, and we're going to work with him a little bit more on refining just the things that you folks pointed out. And I will be his coach.
Thank you.
Peter, do you require being copied on all communications with the Scout?
I don't think it's really necessary. I think, it's part of the process that, Nathan may take a lot of this stuff on himself. It's his responsibility to collate anything that you folks bring up. I'm just here to, in case something starts to go off the rails. So I'd like to, he's perfectly capable of dealing with any of the correspondences, and he'll let me know.
Thank you.
Okay. So I guess I'm just a little unclear whether we can have a more tentative vote pending the updated design and supply list, and knowing also that Nathan will have to coordinate with us also on the precise location, which may not be precisely where the kiosk is now. We may want it to be adjusted. And I'm assuming your work would include dismantling the existing kiosk. Nathaniel?
Yeah, I was planning on dismantling the old one. And I do have another design that I can update this slideshow and get it to you tomorrow with the updated stuff as well.
Okay, we still need this slideshow because this is the one that was presented, but yeah, an update. I think by and large, we're happy with the look, except those, we just don't want the plexiglass doors. All right, so do we need a motion or not, because it isn't finalized? That's sort of my.
This is Freddie speaking.
Yep.
I'm not comfortable voting on anything without having seen it, besides the text of one piece
All
of
right,
presentation.
so we're not gonna,
I
yeah,
think we could take a straw poll saying we're in favor of it moving forward. We like it, give them the, it's not something we're going to deny in the future. We'll just have more input before we take a vote and write a letter of support, I think.
all right, let's do that. Thank you. And I think, Peter, did you want to say something further? Is your hand up again?
Yeah, Freddie took the words out of my mouth. I think the purpose of this meeting is just to make sure that everyone on the Stewardship Committee was in favor of the project, but as the Troop Committee discussed with Nathan last week, we need a little bit more detail. So that'll be the action item for him, is to get the details to you, and he needs to get that to the troop as well.
Right.
Yep, we have time, but
Yep.
I think just getting a tacit sort of, yes, we're in favor of this right now would be good. And then when he gets you the refined information, then you guys can approve it.
To the other committee members, is there anyone who wants to voice any concern, or are we comfortable with that tacit approval for this point, waiting for the details for the formal vote and the letter?
I'm in favor.
Great. So sounds like What's that, Freddie?
Oh, that was Jenny. I'm in favor giving tacit approval as well.
Thank you. Okay, well, not hearing any dissent, we're ready to proceed, I think, with looking forward to the next round with the more precise supplies and the change in the design. And we'll look forward to getting this particular PowerPoint in email from you, Nathan. So thank you very much. We're looking forward to the updated and kiosk and working with you.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
I'll get
Thank
this
you.
to you later tonight.
Thank you, Nathan.
Thank you, Nathan.
All right, and now we can go to our next agenda item, the request for drone video. So Tom, could you elevate Tom Cook to a panelist?
Yes, let me just move everyone else out as well. Hold on one second.
Yep.
Okay, you should be all set.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
Can you folks hear me all right?
Yes, we can, John. Thank you. So we understand you're interested in making some drone video for the Pollinator Gardens at Breakneck Hill.
Did we lose Liz? I know that she had another meeting that she had.
Yeah.
We did. Yeah, she had to drop off.
Okay, well, she and I are in Southborough Rotary together. That's how we know each other. And I know that she works up at the farm and had indicated to me, because she's actually helped me out with other video shoots that I've done via my drone. She's actually been a spotter for me in doing those. And she just thought it would be a cool idea to take more detailed pictures of everything that there is to offer up there, just in the public interest. So I met her there one day, and we walked around and looked at the various areas, and then I became aware of the fact that there was some concern about having people taking pictures with drones there. So I'm really here to answer your questions.
Well, thank you, John. I'm sure we all do have some questions, and one of the questions I would have is, would we have access to the video or a copy of it, the video or multiple videos that you would take? Would that something that would be shared with stewardship?
Well, I think that would be the intention, is for you guys to use them for whatever you choose to use them for. And I can take still photos, and I can take moving videos as I fly around. I did want to let everyone know that I am a licensed pilot with the FAA. So I did go to flight school and did take all of the exams, and I'm very, very safe, because, when you got a license for something, like when you got your driver's license, you don't want to do things that jeopardize that. Same with the pilot license. When you invest all of that time and money into it, you really want to be very particular about following the rules. And the FAA does have a lot of rules, so it's good to have a well, it's actually the law that if you want to have video on the internet that represents something that can raise money, that it needs to be done by a licensed pilot. And I'm sorry, did someone have a question?
No, I was just like, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, and it's quite substantial. If a party, like if a real estate agent goes out and gets their next door neighbor's kid to take a video of a house that they're trying to sell, that would be a $1,000 fine for the individual operating the drone, and it would be a $10,000 fine for the real estate agent.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't mess around with that stuff.
Well, we're glad to know it's taken seriously. What questions do I have from the committee for John and the idea of taking drone video at Breakneck Hill in the Pollinator Gardens?
I have one comment. I think it's a wonderful idea. Thank you for coming to the committee and approaching us with this idea. I think it's a great option to see the beautiful land and you know, be able to showcase it from a different viewpoint. So I think it's a fabulous idea. I guess one question is, I mean, is there a better time to, you know, what is the interaction with the drone and birds in general? Do they just stay away from it like it's a big bird coming for them, or does it create any negative impacts that you'd want to do it at a certain time of day that's better for the wildlife?
Well, if there were some migration activity, like if ducks or geese were flying over at the time, I would probably choose not to fly for that. There are a lot of like the day that Liz and I were up just checking out the area. It wasn't raining, but it was misty, and I wouldn't fly in that either. So, and we've got restrictions on what time of day we can fly, and you can't fly over people without their permission. And
Oh, wow.
yeah, so there's a lot to it. But yeah, I've been doing this for about 2 years now, and
That the idea of not being able to fly over people without their permission. I mean, there's often walkers there, so I would think that would be a little bit of a challenge. Would you post a sign or something like drone video underway?
That would be where I would solicit spotters.
Oh, I see.
So like, for example, at the food truck festival last summer, I took aerials there. And so what I did is I actually solicited some of the parents with kids playing around so that they could be involved in it. And I said, you know, if you could just have your kids stay with you and you get a bird's eye view of the drone. And so we had probably 6 or 7 people that were watching to make sure that people didn't come into the area underneath the drone. And they also helped me because I've got to watch the controls at the same time that I'm looking up the sky to see where I am. And so if I have a spotter with me, they can watch the sky while I'm actually watching the controls.
Nice.
So this is Freddie.
Hi.
Go ahead. I have a few questions and concerns. And first, I want to say thank you very much for coming forth. I think it could be a wonderful, wonderful project. One, we have ground nesting birds that I think having a drone fly over it during nesting season would be very detrimental, or could be. And I would want more info on that if that was a time, which is in the spring. We're not in that now. I think you're trying to do this at this point in time, but I'm not sure if this is being looked at as more than a one and done, or, you know, doing future programs. So also we have migrating warblers. I think that's done, but those are, you know, other times of concern that we might want to be aware of. You probably, as the expert, know about these things, but we would want to be sure they were covered. The other issue is, my concern is about other people seeing a drone up there and thinking it's okay to fly drones. And this is for the stewards, not for you so much, John, but how do we communicate that there's a drone doing approved shooting, and it doesn't mean it's okay to take drones up there? I'm not sure. Was it you, Joyce? I was up there one time, and some kids were flying a drone, and it came right in our face and followed us around. It was like, and I haven't seen much or any drone activity up there now, but at one point we decided to ask for it to be not an allowed use, and I don't know if we followed up on it or if we actually found out that it's not allowed on the conservation land. But I think that's something for the stewards to follow up on.
Right,
And
and I
then the
it wasn't, yeah, go ahead, sorry.
So if you want to answer to that, I can wait for my third one. Did we want to talk about that right now?
I was just gonna say, it wasn't with me, Freddie, when the drone, you had that experience with the drone up there. And I know we've talked about it and possibly even raised it with Conservation Commission, but I don't think we followed through in any more formal way. But yes, that is something that we as stewards can talk further about. So get to your third issue. Thank you.
Okay. So the third issue, and before we move on, maybe that's even something John would have expert knowledge about how we would proceed with that, or what the FAA or whoever has oversight, I'm not sure. Maybe we could work with him later on that. The third one is the video itself and the intent and the content. And as the pollinator gardens have specific purposes, and that purpose is actually being moved to more align with the scientific research we're doing with Dr. G. Gear. And Liz has been at the all of our workshops, weeding, and she's been an amazing resource, but I still feel that the stewards need to have some control over, or would want to have, I would recommend, if this is going to be a public document that we're approving a drone to take, we'd want some control over the content, because I personally want to be sure that the messaging is on point with what we're trying to accomplish, and not that, there have been, Liz has been creating videos of our work days, which have been marvelous, but I think for something like this, we really kind of want to even have a, and I don't know if it's possible, but what's oversight and review of the content. And I know that sounds a bit much, but if this is going to be widespread and lots of people looking at it, you just don't want some mistake made in the messaging inadvertently. And I the work is serious and it's important, and I think we want to be very fastidious about what message gets put. I mean, what's the point? Is it just pretty pictures? That's one thing. But if you start talking about the purpose and which flowers, because there's a lot of flowers up there that aren't really serving us well for having the pollinator gardens there. And highlighting them doesn't benefit the work we're trying to do right now.
So it was not my intention to speak over the video or to provide any instruction or any information. It was just to take the video. And then that is totally fine for you guys to do. If you want to just show the raw video, you can do that, or you could record on top of it. And if certainly if someone wanted to meet me down there prior to the day that we do the shoot, and we can go around and talk about what, plants or features we wanted to make sure that we got included, then I could take that into account as I'm thinking out how I would shoot it. So I'm more than happy to, get shots of anything that you think would be beneficial, to avoid shooting things that you don't think would be beneficial. But it was not my intention, because I've got a brown thumb, so I'm not going to speak about anything to do with gardening.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Difficult. Was my dog barking on there? I'm sorry. So maybe I misunderstood, because Liz has been creating these videos up there with language, and I thought she wanted to use this video footage to create one of those. And if that's not the intent, then that's. So the question is, who has access to this, and what's the purpose of it? Just a flyover that people can look at a flyover, and no music and no writing?
Well, I mean, like I said, we can go in and take, pictures of particular features. I can hover in the air around the perimeter of something. I can go up and take a shot straight down. So there are a variety of things that I can do. It's really up to you guys what you're interested in seeing. But even though drones have microphones on them, they don't typically get used, because then you wouldn't be able to hear anything other than the props. So that's
Right.
not, and if it's up 100 feet in the air, then I'm not going to be sitting there talking about what I'm taking a picture of, because you wouldn't even be able to hear me from there. So yeah, I'm game to help you guys out in any way that I can here. And like you said, if you want to pursue getting a kind of like a permanent no-fly thing, I don't know that the FAA really engages communities in doing that sort of thing, and it is ultimately their decision as to where no-fly zones are. But I would be happy to, look up rules and try to engage with them to see what is available to you as far as doing that. I think you're totally within your rights to say that non-licensed, and maybe this is the key to keeping just people walking up and applying their zones there, is just say that it's restricted to licensed pilots that have gotten permission to be there.
That's
Well, we don't allow horseback riding and other activities, so I'm not sure why this would be different, except for the FAA can control some things, but airspace may be different. So back to the use of the video. Would it then be the video becomes like, who owns the video and where can it be used?
Yeah, I'll give you guys the
I mean, I would assume it's your property. And is it the whole property you're doing, and I saw something like you want to do it within 2 weeks. That doesn't give us a lot of time to plan where we would like. Or are you just looking at the gardens? Was that the only intent?
I think that Liz and I talked about it, and we were hoping to get with you guys as soon as we could, so that, if we wanted to take pictures prior to fall setting in. I mean, fall may be a perfectly nice time to take some pictures too. I didn't know if you were interested in showing the plants while they're still green, or if you wanted to show it in the fall time.
Some of the plants are in bloom.
right.
And that's nice. And I know it sounds a bit much, but I just want to be sure that whatever video is made of the Breakneck Hill Pollinator Gardens is in line with the intent of having those gardens there for the stewards, for the, at-risk pollinators, and that the messaging isn't something we get a video after the fact and it's like, oops, that wasn't quite right.
Right, and we're squeezed for a time to get stuff when it's still in bloom too, if we want it. Like, I can see we wouldn't want like video of the maybe acres of Queen Anne's lace, but we might want some beautiful shots showing these oasis of pollinator friendly plants in these couple of garden areas that we've been working on. But I also want to give Jenny, Jim, and Kat if they had any questions for Mr. Cook.
This is Jenny. No, I think it could definitely be a very interesting project. Are you talking about kind of just focusing on just the Ecology garden, or some of the gardens near the trailhead parking lot, like what we call Wildflower Hill, as well?
I think that's what Liz was interested in, but I guess it's more of a question for you guys, what you're interested in.
Well, it seems like we could do a lot of everything, right? We could focus some video exactly on the pollinator gardens, making sure that we have specific video only of what we want to show for one reason. Then broader scope, get the whole property because it's gorgeous, and use that for another purpose, like this is Southborough's premier property, you know, and having some different video clips of the for different reasons would help, I think, to Freddie's point, keep our messaging clear. And we're not doing any voiceovers now, so we're just talking images. But we have an opportunity here with John and his skills to be able to leverage. And I think it's a wonderful opportunity, even if we don't exactly know how we'll use the footage. Let's get the footage and then see what we could do with it if John's willing to do that. And then as far as the concern about will people see him out there and do drone flying, we can put on our nice little kiosk, no drone flying. And if there are questions, we can answer them on a, you know, per as needed basis. And then if it becomes an issue, we can do that, I think.
That's helpful to me too, Kat, the way you framed it, because I could see some, like, I think we'd love to have some that focuses on the pollinator gardens and the Ecology garden that would use for one purpose. I could see drone footage that sort of traces the trails a little bit to show the wonderful, and that could be really any time of year, even fall, you know, that shows, look at the wonderful opportunity for walking that this beautiful conservation land has. And that would be kind of another purpose. So yeah, I think that there's, and I thought the language around only licensed pilots with advanced permission can do drone stuff here is also helpful. I mean, I don't know that there's been a surge of people trying to do drone stuff there. So I almost worry about posting that might invite more. But Jim, what about you? Do you have anything?
I really like the idea.
Oh, Jim, I can't hear you.
I really like the idea. I love the idea of showcasing the whole property. I think addressing the issue of other people using drones up there is pretty simple with signage. I'd love to be there when you do it, just to see how it works.
Everybody's welcome. More spotters, the better.
I have I guess another couple of questions. I guess how many different, I guess, shooting trips, visits are you thinking of doing? Because I guess one thing that I would say is that like the Ecology garden, not very much is blooming this year because things are, you know, everything is getting installed this year. It could be something where you have people pretending to volunteer, you know, weed or some, you know what I mean? And you're just filming people weeding, or you know what I mean? That kind of thing, just to show that we're working on establishing a garden. But I guess I'm also just wondering, I guess, yeah, how many, you know, how many visits you are thinking of, you know, what kind of time frame for the project?
Well,
yeah.
Typically what I do is I come out and look at the site before I do any filming. So I've got in my head one vision of how this could play out from having done that. I think in this case that it might be good to meet with stewards who are interested in having influence over how I take the video, that I meet with them once again prior to the day that we're going to shoot it. Now, it could be like a Saturday and a Sunday if we have, you know, nice weather. But like I won't fly in high wind situations. I won't fly if it's snowing or if it's raining. You know, if there were a bunch of people there, if there were a lot of birds flying around, there's a variety of reasons why I may just say, you know, let's scrub it for the day. So, but I wouldn't see more than a couple of days. Now, if you wanted me to come back later and take more video, I could do that, but it would be the same sort of thing. It would probably be one time to get there and kind of talk about what the strategy of the shoot is, and then come back the next day or the following week and actually do it. I will say, because I understand the concern about the birds, and I have never had a situation where I've really had birds pay much attention to what I'm doing. So it's, if I were chasing them, which I would never do, I'm sure that would not be looked well upon by them. But once you get about 60 feet in the air, there's unless they're up there, I don't think it would be disturbing anybody on the ground, like ground nesters.
And you had said the video would sort of be ours to deal with, but would Liz or you or the Rotarians be doing something with it as well? And you said there wouldn't really be voiceover, but there can be printed words on it. So I guess we would have copies of it, but then other people would be using it also for their own purposes.
Well, Sam and I have been talking about doing some work on things together. They have the post-production video software and microphones and that sort of stuff. So they're geared more towards turning it into, I think, a full-fledged production quality thing. I can take the pictures, I'm essentially the camera operator, and then people can come in and, put captions and voiceovers over it, put music to it and whatnot.
And that other person is interested in this video of Breakneck Hill for doing some post-production, adding words and things, or is this really you're doing it for us and other people aren't going to be distributing it and doing things with it?
Yeah, I would prefer for others not to be distributing it without permission.
So you're saying stewards would have permission, you're doing it for us, so no one else would be posting it on Facebook with their own captioning.
Right. That would be my preference there. Now, and by Sam, I was referring to Southborough Access Media.
Oh, I didn't know what that was.
Oh, okay.
I thought it was a person.
No, they're the people that go in and film town meetings and stuff like that and put it
Okay.
in the access channel.
Yeah, I should have known that.
Can I ask one clarifying question, John?
Yes.
Would it be possible if Dr. Gear were interested as the scientist doing the research, would he be able to get permission to use it for his research if he wanted to?
I really hadn't thought about that, but I don't see a problem with it.
And I don't even know if he would. I'm kind of overstepping or whatever, but just try to ask.
So I think, if I may, that the stewards have a ecology research garden working with Dr. G. Gear, and we could work with him if there was something specific. I'm not quite sure how an aerial video would help in his research, but who knows? But back to the overall plan of a video, I think it would be wonderful to have a trail walk on, how you see them on PBS, there's music and you get to see the landscape and, showcasing some of the trails. And actually in the future, if you could do it, even some of the trails you have, Kat. And also as we get to the town forest. Well, I'm sorry for beating you to it. But we also, John, have a town forest we're trying to get more attention to, and people aren't aware of how beautiful it is in there.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be a combination of the trails, which we're still doing. Kat's still working on some trail work there, but there's some beautiful attributes that could have like a still picture, if you do or Sam does editing in. I just think that could be really magnificent. And at Breakneck Hill, particularly though, going up the hills and, looking at the viewscapes and, maybe even seasonal, if this was a long-term project you were interested in, like in the spring when things come out, it looks different. And then there's waving grass at sometimes, and then the fall foliage. I really think it could be something long-term relationship building that we could be doing here.
Cool.
Does that interest you? I just gave you a year-long project.
Yeah. Well, we'll just have to see how it goes. If it becomes too much time, that may be difficult. But yeah, I would.
You're thinking of another shot or two,
So yeah, and like I said, I don't work with Sam right now. We have talked about working together, so that would be like a different gig.
Right.
Is to go and get them. But if they do work with you folks and producing a video and they want to play it on the Access, because I know that they're looking for things besides town meetings that they can just play, I'd be totally fine with that too.
Oh, that'd be fascinating if they, I think that would be awesome. So are there other questions or comments or concerns? Do you think we can move to a vote?
I think we can.
Does someone want to make a motion?
I move that we accept the request to film Breakneck Hill with the drone by John Cook, with guidance by the stewards on the footage.
Do I have a second?
I'll second. Jim?
All in favor? Oh, that was Jim that seconded and Kat that made the motion. So Jenny,
I'm in favor.
Jim,
In favor?
Kat,
In favor.
Freddie,
In favor?
and I'm in favor. The motion passes. So this is wonderful. John, thank you so much for coming to us with your proposal and being willing to work with us so that we can have this wonderful drone footage to use in ways appropriate for our committee and purposes. And I invite you, you've got my email, I invite you to alert me for a site walk when you're looking at a time, and I can alert the stewards, and hopefully for a site walk we'd be able to meet you there, or at least some of us would, to point out things that we are especially interested in. But I think what you've heard tonight is we're very interested in the drone footage of the pollinator gardens, and possibly also, kind of a look at those trails, footage of that, which could be, different times of year, I think.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to working with everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you guys are doing great work down there, and I think that the town should be able to see it.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. So,
Now,
labor of love.
so does this have to go on to the conservation, or are we?
I don't think
Or
so.
are we done with the approval process at this
I
point?
think we can approve that without going to conservation.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Nice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
So, shall I coordinate with you, Joyce, on like a date that we could meet?
You
down
can
there?
reach out to me on dates that work for you. I work full time, and I can't always make other than an early morning or early evening on a weekday. But I can certainly coordinate getting the word out to the other stewards, some of whom might be available.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda. And John, you're free to continue to listen in to our meeting as an attendee, or depart as you choose. It's a public meeting. So our next item was updating the management plan, priority, and ongoing projects. Usually we check in with Melissa on that. She's not here.
Joyce, you
Yes,
skipped something.
I did. Oh, I did. I'm sorry. Town forests, trail mapping, marking and naming, and ATV use. Thank you, Freddie. That was an important item. I didn't mean to skip it. Sorry about that, Kat. So Kat, what's going on over there at the town forest? We have a lot of items tonight.
Okay, so I'll try not to speak too fast. So I was walking through the forest and noticed these wooden pallets off to the side, and we've also noticed some ATV movement along the street. I've never witnessed it in the forest, but I can, quickly make an assumption about what could be happening, and there may be some tire tracks from here to there. So that's the question that I brought up to Joyce, is do we want to put up some signage? I don't think we have any permitted uses signage for that type of stuff. They're not overly using it, or we would see it, or we would see damage, but I know long-term we don't necessarily want motorized vehicles in there. So that's one question, is does the committee want to put up signage? I can help create that signage, have it approved, however we want to do it. And then that's one thing. The second thing is, it's interesting because where they put the pallets, you remember when we did our site walk and Freddie said there used to be a trail here? Would you mind if I showed you the screen, if I shared my screen?
Please do.
Okay, now I had it up and of course it went away. Oh, hang on 2 seconds. Okay, let's see. Be quick. This one, okay. So let me know.
I didn't hear what you said. I said.
You had said that there was a trail, another trail that is on the map, but we did not walk that trail. So I'm going to take a picture, Freddie, and I'll send it quickly to you via text so you can see what we're seeing. But essentially,
Thank
for
you.
those on the screen, this line, can you see my mouse moving?
Yeah.
I found this trail. So yeah, it's really exciting. I'm all excited because basically it is, it just needs some maintenance to kind of build out, but the stone wall that it passes already has a space and you can kind of see the trail that was there in the past, right? So, but this happens to be the area that I believe the ATV folks are looking to use the pallets on, because that's where the pallets are. And I believe the pallets are placed in a low-lying area that could be considered wetlands. I'm not sure the delineation in the forest of all the wetland areas, but it is low-lying. There is rocks, it's kind of wet. So I'm concerned that if they are using that, we have to obviously stop that. So that's kind of a twofold thing, is do we want that trail? Since it is kind of already mapped, we could easily make that work. And then the other question is, how do we want to handle the inappropriate uses in the town forest? And then
Is there any signage there now that is about approved uses, like passive recreation only?
Did you say signage on permitted uses?
Yeah.
Not in the town. No, I would want to double check with actually I have it here because it's the brochure. So here's the trail policies and regulations from the Sudbury Valley Trustees, which most people won't necessarily know that their 18 acres don't apply to the entire thing. So here they say that it prohibited motorized vehicles, hunting, camping, biking, fires, disposing of trash. And then dog walkers just need to pick up their stuff and keep dogs out of the vernal pools. And when you're approaching the hiker. So that's what SVT has for permitted uses. But what I'm thinking is this access point off of Walnut Drive, this cul-de-sac, that's where they're entering. So I would want to put up a little sign here.
Yeah.
To remind folks that that we really don't permit that in the forest.
Yeah, I'm wondering also if we should, once those signs are up, alert, who would you alert? The police or something? They keep an eye on it or something? I don't even know. I don't want to be overly.
I'm not calling the police again. I called them about some vodka bottles, and I think they wanted to laugh me off the phone. So, yeah. I'm happy to kind of, help keep an eye open. We do have an officer two officers, I believe, that live at the end of Walnut, right as it turns like right here.
Mhm.
But that's just a little mini fact that doesn't.
Any other comments from the stewards?
Oh, yeah, early on with Breakneck Hill, we did have ATV, even after we posted the signs, but where they were coming from and whose home they belonged to, and finally, somebody.
But Jimmy got a little garbled there. Freddie, are you muted? Can you check if you're muted? Jim got a little garbled and then maybe there was some interference. Try again, Jim.
So Kat, do you think you could identify where those ATVs are coming from? Which household?
I might have a hunch,
Okay,
but not confirmation. I would have to be a little bit more aware to exactly know where they're coming from.
okay. Well, I think signage would work fine. That would be perfect.
Yeah. Okay. The other thing for the town forest is I met with, we had mentioned a while back about the central planning council. I had that up. I'm sorry. I'm not going to get their names right. The GPS project. So they came out and they mapped the town forest. So we'll have GPS data on the town forest and they're going to be using it in their interactive map project for the Metro West. So one thing that came up, they're going to be rolling that out this fall. They'll let us know when that happens. We just walked the trails. It was a couple hours and they were really nice. And so one question came up is, do the trails have color codes or names? And I said they don't really now because it's kind of all over the place. There's yellow and there's blue and they all go all over the place. We don't really know. So my question was, I wanted to ask the committee if we would be interested in having a naming contest for the community to help us select names maybe for the trails. And one option would be we could choose a few names for each of the trails and see which ones are most popular is one way to get the community more engaged, aware of the town forest and engaged in helping us, name the trails and feel some ownership towards that process. And I wanted to float that idea because we have an opportunity in the short time to get those names on that interactive map if that was a way we wanted to go.
Bay Path Lane has to stay Bay Path Lane.
Absolutely. I'd love a historical marker or two for that trail to really highlight its history, if we could find its history more permanently documented.
I like the idea of a contest. I'm not sure how you would run it, like via My Southborough or something with a website.
Right. I'd have to do a little more thinking. I wanted to bring some ideas to the committee, but I really haven't had the time to kind of to work on the ideas. But we could either let people propose names or we could propose the names and let them vote on it. And we would advertise through kind of some normal channels, MySouthborough.com. We could do Trails Facebook. We'd put out an e-alert on the website and see what we got for feedback.
Yeah, I like starting with some names rather than just people, because you know what happened to that ship that became Bodie McBoatface, right? Because of a vote or something like that.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. Remember that from a couple years ago? So we wouldn't, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It might be good to start with like a number of choices.
Yeah.
And there's always lots of, good trail names to come up with.
Yeah.
And securing the one, Bay Path is going to stay Bay Path that has historic significance. So I mean, if it's something you think you can pull off in terms of the timing and figuring out the mechanics of it, like that's a little hard for me to to figure out what that would be. Because I wouldn't know like how to set up a website or something, or wouldn't want my email inundated with votes.
Yep.
But, you know, there's probably some Survey Monkey kind of way to do it too. So,
Yeah.
any other commentary on that from us, any of the stewards?
I had a question for Kat. Would the new trail, the old trail that's going to be redone new, would that be on this map?
The new trail, so that's a good question because I didn't find it until after we did our walk. So I would reach out to them and say, hey, you know, it may be that Sudbury Valley trustees, I don't know if this is hand drawn or if they actually have GPS data. If they do have GPS data, they could share that with the planning council, because they are also sharing the Burroughs Loop Trail, which is already in an interactive map, and they have GPS data. So they're sharing that as one resource. So that would be one option, Freddie. If they did have that data, they could share it. The second question I would have to them, if they did not have it on GPS, is there some, you know, can I use all trails and get some general GPS data that they could perhaps use in their software? I don't know if that's something that's simple, or a Garmin GPS that I have would work. So I would ask them that question, trying to get that trail put in there.
And how soon does it have to be for the names? Because
Yep. So
I can throw out a couple of suggestions now.
Yeah, I would take them, or you can send them to me via email. Happy to do that. But I said I would try to do it in the next month. It sounded like, you know, they're kind of getting a slow start, reaching out to all the different communities and getting the data, or going out and mapping the different trail units. So I think we have a little time, like, you know, if we could, I could commit to doing this in a month. And best effort, because they can update the data. Even if they roll it out, I can send them data later and they can update the interactive map. That's the brilliance of these maps, that they can just be changed and updated as they need to be with regular updates.
So from our walk, a couple of things that jumped out at me was pepper bush, and or whatever, that sweet pepper bush, and hazel. There was so much witch hazel.
Oh, yeah.
You know, witch hazel lane, or maybe not lane, but, you know, and then wasn't there a lot of blueberries?
Blueberry or
Blueberries.
huckleberry? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so, you know, we could play off the plants, and then you've got the vernal pool, overlook, trail, you know, so some of those natural plants, and the plants were all listed in the, I believe in the
Forest management.
scrubby ones that we saw a lot of forest management plan. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
So.
And if we do end up naming, I was thinking about, we'll eventually need to do some signage of some sort, and we could do temporary signage until we were able to get funding in the future for real signs.
Or
yeah, and then there's the
to the
noisy
list
mass.
of Eagle Scout.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's the noisy Mass Pike Trail.
Yeah, I was gonna suggest calling that Pike Trail just because it's on the pike. It is really.
Well, there was the Shun Pike should be one of the, that's one of the, is that one of the historic names, Shun Pike?
Shun Pike is the historic name for Bay Path.
Oh, that's the same thing. Okay, Shun Pike and Bay Path are the same. Thank you.
Bay Path was used to avoid tolls on Route 9, which was a toll road, and the locals called it Shun Pike so that you could shun paying the tolls.
Yeah, yeah, that's a wonderful story.
We need a marker.
Marker.
Historical marker would be nice.
Yeah.
And maybe something about the indigenous people that originally used that as a trail before it became, you know, Bay Path.
Does anyone know, are there any townies or people that have the history? I've asked the the historical commission a while ago if they had any data on the town forest, and they did not really have any. And I met a very knowledgeable guy who said, don't bring the bay path to my house across the street, I think from Oak Hill Road, that knew some of the history. But does anyone else know anyone who has any knowledge of the history of what this land used to be used for, or any of that?
You know, there's a woman in my church whose father on a walk once told me that his family donated the portion of land that was, I think, on the south side of the Mass Pike. I don't know if some of, you know, that was all one parcel. So maybe she would know from her family history.
Is that where there's the
I can reach out
marker
to her.
on 85? Like somewhere in from 85 near the Pike, that land, there's a marker with somebody's name on it.
Yeah, no, that's a different Templeman Woods, and
Yeah, that's
the other name, Watkins. Watkins donated land. So like all those farms along there had farmland and the Mass Pike bisected, but that's separate from the town forest. We have town forest that actually you only can get to from Ashland. Remember when we did the forest stewardship plan, when we walked it? You have to go into Ashland to access the land because the roads don't. The old Oregon Road used to cut through there.
Okay.
So that's different, but it's still part. We should always remember that's still part of our town forest. Maybe we should take a walk there sometime.
Yeah, the other side.
Yeah.
So do we
I'm
need,
digressing from the trail issue, but
do we need any kind
there's
of
an old Oregon Road on that side that should be included in our trail list.
on the other side of the Pike, Freddie? Behind Oregon
On the
Road?
other side of, between Oregon Road
Yep.
and Mass Pike,
Yeah.
there's a section behind homes that there's a little dead end street that comes off of Oregon Road in Ashland that ends in a cul-de-sac that has the entrance to the old original Oregon Road.
oh,
And that old road was actually slated to be used by a property owner to use it as road frontage for a subdivision. And back in the day, Paul Borden had to go and look it up because the road was actually discontinued at a town meeting, which meant that it was no longer a road, but getting those documents was very difficult. Anyhow, we were allowed to get the road as part of the open space for subdivision. We own half of the road.
Gotcha.
It's something that should be documented in information besides just in my head.
Thank you.
do we need to vote on signage and trail naming?
I don't think you need to take a vote. We're just going to do it, right?
Yeah, I was just checking in. So I think it'd be great if you had some language for the sign. When I've done the little signs, I've just done them in PowerPoint and laminated them.
So can I, are there a couple of people that want to be involved in approving the sign language? Should that be Joyce and Freddie? Should I send that to you?
I'm happy to look at it. I think, straightforward.
I'm happy to back off.
Yeah, you can send it to me and we'll have back and forth. Thanks, Kat, for bringing it to our attention.
Thank you. So I'll do the same thing with the naming. I'll put it into a plan and let you know what it looks like. And if you have any feedback, let me know. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that everything for Town Forest then this time?
Yes.
Great. And I had started to move on in my error. So usually we would check in with Melissa on the management plan. It doesn't seem like there's been much happening there and she's not able to join us tonight. So I think I'm going to follow up with her outside this meeting and see what we might be able to expect, because I think that would like to have that updated plan to guide us and to be a resource for us. And it sounds like it's a little bit in sort of a point where it isn't, if it's progressing, I'm not aware of it. So I'll see what I can find out about that and report back. Updates on mowing. I know that Freddie had a walk with a gentleman from the DPW, and I followed up to find out when they were going to mow the grassland fields. I talked to somebody at DPW yesterday. She has not gotten back to me. She was going to check in with the crew, and I had talked to her with some urgency, saying, you know, if they weren't going to mow, we might want to find, you know, have a contractor and pay for it to be done outside of DPW. And I haven't heard back. And I'm assuming, Freddie, you have also not heard back from anybody on that.
When I took the walk, and this was with George from DPW, and I will say they've been doing a really great job mowing the trails.
Yeah.
And the areas around once they knew where to mow. Although there was a skip, I don't know if that's one we still want to have mowed. Jim, you know, on the paved road that goes between the North Pasture and E, there was that little loop trail that went over by the, you know what I mean, right?
Yes, they did not mow that.
That doesn't seem to have been mowed. And if that's something we want to keep continued mowed, we should let them know that, or we should decide to let it go. I don't know. I don't think it was a plan not to mow it.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me either way. It was never used very much. I thought it would be a perfect place for picnics, but I've never seen anybody use it for that.
That's neither here nor there. So for the August 1st mow, what is it, September 15th? You know, mid-September coming up. So one of the things George indicated was, you know, he'd have to get back to the person who'd be doing the mow. What was the equipment? He asked me about, you know, prior history, and I was honest. I said, yeah, almost every single time there was some, you know, broken pin, or, I mean, I shouldn't say every single time, but frequently. There are big divots, there's big holes. It's not like equipment doesn't break down when they're mowing there. I could be mistaken in that, but I remember Twin Pines several times had to replace a pin. Remember Acorn had the same issue. So that, I mean, he asked me about what, you know, I don't know that DPW even has the equipment to do it, was what they were checking on. Certainly it's a great cost saver to have DPW if they're able to do it, but we should, you know, start to know now, because if they can't do that, has anyone taken a look at what 1 year of not mowing has created over in E?
Right. We don't want to skip more mow. So she hasn't called me back. I'm going to call back tomorrow and see what I can find out. And if we can't, if they're saying, no, we don't have the equipment, I think we'll have to proceed with Twin Pines or somebody.
Yeah,
Right.
They got a red tractor just waiting for us.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that, Freddie?
They have a red tractor waiting for us.
Right, right, right. Okay, so I have a follow-up item there. Anything else on that?
They did mow the trails today.
Okay, the trails are mowed, great. Anything else on item 7, trails? I don't have anything on status of community gardens. I have no update or anything. Anything on?
We had something.
Yeah.
We had something in our last minute. about the compost, and I don't know that we ever followed up on it, or, you know, people are just throwing their compost into the edge of the community garden area over the side.
Are they still
And I
doing that? I did communicate to Isabel that it needed to be like where it was supposed to be, the compost between the shed and the road, and needed signs, and she needed to communicate that to her gardeners. So it's still, they're still throwing their compost into the.
I haven't noticed whether they're doing that at this time necessarily, but are there signs? I haven't seen any. I mean,
Yeah, no, I don't think she followed up with signs, and I didn't make signs, so.
There's no sign.
Jim, have you gotten any notices about that?
No, there's definitely no signs, and I don't know of any email that was sent out to Eileen.
All right, so I'm gonna add that to my list. I'm gonna email Isabel and tell her, especially as the season winds down and people are gonna be cleaning out their plots, we want that stuff composted and not tossed into the wetlands. So.
Because we believe there's a likely problem that came from plants out of the community garden, the spearmint.
Yeah, the mint, right?
And it's taking over several areas, and I think it's a monoculture, and it's actually now encroaching on where we work so hard to get the mimulus, the monkey flower,
right,
and steeple bush, and that's being overtaken now. So.
Okay, so I'm gonna email Isabel, and I will copy Melissa about compost instruction to gardeners, not in wetlands.
There should be some signs on that edge.
Okay. Anything else on community gardens? Anything on Ecology garden?
Yeah. So Ecology, a couple of things. We're continuing to plant there, and there's some more plants coming in, and there's some. We're also working on the Ecology Research Meadow, and the goal will be, once it's soil ready, that we will seed it a winter sow. So ordering the seeds, and I don't know if any of the stewards want to help. I'm not sure exactly how we'll do it, but we need to do some soil testing there to find out, to make sure we get the right seeds, and also a design for the actual seeding. You can seed in drifts. There's some areas that are wet. It's at the base of a hill, so there's a steep, and there's some areas that are wetter than others that hold water longer after a rain, well, in the spring mostly. So we want to maybe put different plants in that section. So I don't know if anyone wants to help, but I don't even know where to begin with that. I was thinking of asking Chris Paladin to provide some guidance. Putting a meadow in is not as simple as just throwing down seeds. I'll just say that. And I've been doing a lot of research and going to a lot of seminars, and really trying to get a handle on doing it well, and reading a lot. So if anyone wants to work on that. Ecology. So that we're part of the Metro West Conservation Alliance Native Pollinator Task Force, and the goal of the task force is to create ecology gardens throughout the 36 towns of the watershed, working with Dr. Jagir's recommendations. And we're going to have, I need to ask, or permission. We're going to have an event in October. I mean, it's public land, so we'd be following the, the guidelines for safety and I think we're going to be asking people to register. I'm not sure, whatever the state guidelines for how many people you can have at an event. You know, we always do mask, but this will be a little bit more formal, talking about what the purpose of the garden is. And then secondly, going over to the Pollinator Gardens on Wildflower Hill and talking about how those gardens were put in really well intentioned, but aren't supporting at-risk pollinators, and how we're now moving to diversify the plant and the the bees and butterflies that use it by adding different plants in. So it's not intended, because this is to get this in other towns, it's not necessarily intended for Southborough residents, but I'm thinking we should have one for Southborough residents as well as maybe a separate event. And I don't know how you feel about that. And we also talked about, for anyone hasn't noticed, we've had an incredible crew of volunteers all summer long. People are out there during the week, Saturdays and Sundays. And I think it would be nice to have a little something for those volunteers. And there's a good 20 of them, which, it's been amazing. And Liz, actually, who was helping with the droning, she's been a real resource for us, really. It's been helping out a lot with weeding and helping and planting and everything. So I just wanted to give her a shout out. She's the one who's helping to put together the drone potential. So a lot of people are really well vested in this. I'll say that. A lot of love for this.
Yeah, I've been out every couple of weeks. I've made it for at least some of the time, and it's just been wonderful. I've met some new people that I've traded plants with, sort of and then I got to meet them in person because they are volunteering there, and it's really been tremendous. And I think, acknowledging that is important, and I'm happy to help with that. In terms of 1 or 2 events for the event in October at the, so it sounds like a sort of an event that's a walk to the various things and then talking about what's been learned and stuff like that. And this, so the event you started talking about, Freddie, was that larger regional group, that would be the target audience as opposed to Southborough specific.
Right. We're going to have to limit how many people can register because of COVID.
Right.
And because the goal is to get people to do what we're already doing at Breakneck Hill. There's another one, and if I haven't already sent it out, I'll send it out when I get off this meeting. The Lincoln, the town of Lincoln, is sort of like a mirror, a sister mirror,
right.
town doing the same type of work. So they'll be having one, only theirs is asking people to come and do planting at their new gardens. And, I've done enough of that. So like I might like to go and see, but I mean, I think it's going to be for, helping to get gardens in. And ours is more about, how these plants work and why we're choosing to do it differently on Wildflower Hill, where we had some plants we thought were great plants, but then when Dr. Jagir, we sent him videos, and he's like, Bombus impatiens. You're feeding the common bees and honeybees, and actually maybe pushing some of the at-risk species closer to disappearing from the landscape, which was really eye-opening for us. And it was one of my concerns about the aerial. We want to make sure that our messaging is on target, because pretty flowers, yes, but there's maybe not doing as much help as we would hope.
Yeah. Well, I think, if I mean, I love the idea of the event. I think doing 2 events, I mean, it's twice a work and it's hard, and but
So
given,
let me step back, and I didn't mean to overstep this committee. I thought I had mentioned it before, but the ecology event, the first one, you know, that's the Native Pollinator Task Force is going to handle all of the logistics, and it's nothing, there's no heavy lifting or any lifting for our committee at all, beyond the work we've already done to make those gardens gorgeous.
yeah,
The only reason I suggested 2 events is that maybe at another time I could do a repeat so that people in town could learn more about it.
yeah. I was gonna say, I think because that larger group is going to attract people from a bigger radius and it's going to be limited in numbers, there might be people in Southborough who would have wanted to go, but, you know, wouldn't be on the list or whatever. So keeping open that option for, because I do think interest is up on those kinds of things, as we've seen with the outpouring of volunteer, you know, the crew of volunteers who got in.
How many would you limit it to? Do you have an idea, a number in
This is,
mind?
so I'm going to do research on the state's recommendations. I know they have 50 people for a gathering outside, but then you still have to do, you know, safe social distancing, I believe. And all of our activities outside require a mask. And even though we're working together, I don't know if you've noticed, like, people will come together to be in one area to see a plant, and then I start, you know, you work over there, you know, a little too close. Like, we try to keep people not working shoulder to shoulder. And so for this, I'm going to be looking at the logistics of, without spray painting spots where you can stand, we're not going to have people, you know, and I don't know, like, walking through the garden, will I do like the Ecology garden, which is more close quarters? How many people can we actually have in there and talk a little bit? I'm hoping to do, I know this is not, I'm hoping to do a lot of the information emailed, distributed ahead of time. So there's not a lot of talking. If there's a large group, then you have to talk loud, which isn't great in a mask. So the answer is I don't know. 25 at the most,
Yeah.
I think.
I would be open to volunteering if you wanted some help with the registration part of it. I use Eventbrite, and there's no charge in using that for registration. We did this for our guided hikes last week. If that's helpful to you, Freddie, I could put together the registration page with the help of you on the text and what you wanted to say, and could help on that end if that was useful.
So the Native Pollinator Task Force, which is a task force of the Metro West Conservation Alliance, we actually have been generously, I don't want to say gifted, but allocated a AmeriCorps volunteer. You may have met him, Matt, who's I think he did the Park Ranger program for you guys.
Oh yeah.
So he's like my admin person or support person. He's not just support, though. He's a member of the team. So he'll be doing that through the resources at SVT, or I should say the MCA. So I don't need help with that registration, but I hadn't thought about a specific Southborough one. So maybe after we get the MCA one, the Native Pollinator Task Force one, all set up, that we could just copy that and do an internal one. I mean, I'm never comfortable in doing a program that's not for Southborough, but we're not using any Southborough resources except for having them come to the conservation land, which is public anyhow.
Right, it's public.
So I didn't feel like I had to get real permission until I thought, well, maybe it's you know, it's more of a group event, and you know, maybe I should have checked in earlier, but I don't think I did anything inappropriate here, but
Yeah.
I think I always wanted to have some kind of program for Southborough residents to learn more about what we're doing.
Yeah. I think it's a great idea to use the garden. It's like you're turning lemons into lemonade. This is, you know, because I think a lot of people are well-intentioned and they want to do the right thing, and then they end up making some difficult, they don't make the right plant choices, but you're highlighting what you can do in an example when that does happen for you. I think that's a really a wonderful way to expose people to what's going on the Wildflower Hill, and to help educate them about the best the diversity of the pollinators.
Yeah. And so, you know, another one of the things that, and this was before Liz came along with her videos that she's been doing, the Metro West Conservation Alliance Native Pollinator Task Force. We had determined we wanted to create these things. We're calling them snack packs, little videos, short videos, exactly like what Liz has done at our work days, except for with a very precise messaging. One thing we find out is that we have like an hour and 43-minute video of a presentation Rob did. And people just aren't going to turn their computer on and watch a video for an hour and 43 minutes, most people.
Yeah.
But a 5-minute, 10-minute, 15-minute snack pack. We're putting them together, and you know, we haven't started filming them, but that's a goal. And we might be doing that at this workshop as well, which is for the MCA to distribute to people around the watershed. So it would be, you know, the Native Pollinator Task Force's effort that the stewards can use for our specific projects. And I see the next agenda item is volunteer program. I think we could build on this pollinator garden efforts to be a volunteer program throughout the whole property.
Yeah.
I don't think the same volunteers, but you know, why can't we get more volunteers out there?
Yes, because we do need that bee house beneath it. Freddie and I were talking about it the other day. It's supposed to be a dirt patch, so we have to make sure it stays dirt. We're going to have new bird boxes that are going to have to be cleared out, that kind of thing. So there's always lots of opportunity in addition to the sort of planting and weeding that we've had a lot of support for and watering. Anything else on those items, ecology or the volunteers?
Thank you for all your work, Freddie, and for everyone who's been helping with that project.
Well, and all the stewards have helped out too. You know, it hasn't, you know, we've had great support from a volunteer network, which includes the stewards, which you wear, you know, double duty because you're also stewards helping to, you know, without your support for these pollinator gardens, we wouldn't need volunteers. So, I mean, yay us.
Yeah, so
all of us.
Thanks to everyone, and Freddie for your leadership there, and also in acknowledging that. I mean, I'm happy to host some sort of acknowledgement, like afternoon tea and cookies, and stroll around my garden or anything like that. If we can come up with the date that any of them could make it, I'm happy to do that.
I think that's very nice. Thank you.
So
I'm dying to see your garden anyhow.
I know. Well, maybe you and I can connect on a date that you think will work, and we can get those invitations out.
Yeah, and I also possibly could be involved with that, you know, depending on how things go with the crazy school year.
Yeah, crazy school year.
That's for sure. Crazy 2020. I heard someone say, maybe it was you, Freddie, it's orange juice and toothpaste.
No, it wasn't me, but I can't get that out of my head now. Thanks.
That's the flavor of 2020. The next item was signs for gardens. And is this the post in the pollinator garden, or is this something different?
So it's something different plus that. Particularly the Wildflower Hill, which is, you know, numerous people walking by it, but we have no interpretive signage. So it's a real missed opportunity on sharing a message about why to use native plants. While we're the stewards of the Breakneck Hill, everything, you know, the boundaries don't end for pollinators and birds. They don't know where the property ends. So getting more people to provide better habitat in their own yards is beneficial as well. And we can do that, get the message out with signage. It's part of the Open Space Commission's Native Pollinator, Native Plant Initiative, and I sit on the Stewardship Committee as a representative of Open Space. So, I mean, I think it ties in, and, you know, people are there like, what am I seeing and why, you know, it's pretty flowers, but, you know, the messaging's not there. And there is a cultural arts grant coming up, and there are members of the non-government town entity Native Plant Garden of Southborough. It's a loosely organized Facebook group who would like to help get signage and help write a grant application for it, but they need to have written support from the entity. You know, like if it was on the concert for the Breakneck Hill, they can't just go ahead and write a grant for it without having written support from us. And the grant is due, I believe, October 15th. So before people started looking into writing this up, and I would want to make sure this was something in line with what the stewards want. And I would say similarly to Eagle Scout project, the signage and materials would have to be approved by the stewards. And I think we have time to do that before the deadline if we start working on it now. And it's not something I think the stewards need to do the lifting on, but do the reviewing of, and also maybe put in for the signs on that post that I think some of them have a cost to them, like $25 to register to get the sign. And there were like, I don't know how many signs we had identified. This is the post in the middle of the Triangle Garden.
Yeah, I have a list somewhere that I had sent to that scout who put it up, and he only did the one.
Right.
Yeah.
And additionally, the question is, I bumped into Catherine Weber, who does arts on the trails at the Beals Preserve, and she talked about the types of signage they have that you can, I haven't seen it, so shame on me, but I'm trying to get over there before it closes, that she would send us send me the materials that they use. So I think you can, I don't know if it's a laminated sheet, they last all season, and, you know, for the different flowers, and maybe something about them so people would know, you know, like if they wanted to bring it home, why, you know, what plant it is, and, you know, if it's a good plant for our rare bees, that would be nice to know, or butterflies, and the hummingbird garden, which hummingbird plants are. So it would be, what I'm asking for is the stewards, this would be the signs on the signpost, and then little signage around the different gardens with the flowers, but not a littering of sign. You know, when you go to a garden and they have garden plant signs.
Right.
And nothing done before you approve it.
Yeah, I would be supportive of being involved in that kind of thing, keeping in mind we don't want to litter the property with signs. But it also occurred to me that with the new kiosk, that might give us more kind of square footage for posting things. Like there's a thing that they do at Native Plant Trust Garden in the Woods, where anytime you go on their boards, like what's in bloom now, and there's like little pictures. And
that's
sort of-
wonderful if you have a lot of staff.
Yeah.
Who's going to go out and say, oh, this week this is what's in bloom? I think.
Well, right.
I
Yeah.
don't think of it as a lot of signage. It's little signs in the ground saying what that plant is.
Ooh,
Yeah.
we could use QR codes. I would help with that if you wanted to. That could direct them to a website to talk about that plant. And so the little signs would have a little bit of information, but for those who wanted to explore more, they could dive deeper with a QR code.
Yeah, if somebody wanted to do the QR code writing of what all that would be.
All we'd have to do is link to a website, and so we would have to just link to someone's smart website that we like, and it's literally just plugging in a URL into the code. If you have, I had a subscription at one point, I could revive that, and create some static QR codes that last as long as the website is up. The information's available.
Yeah,
Not
there
our-
aren't that many websites out. There aren't that many websites out there that carry the information I'm happy with sharing on this pollinator issue right now.
Gotcha.
There's a lot of not great info out there by respectable organizations that don't know the new information we're working really hard on. That's what makes it difficult.
Gotcha.
So for now, you're just looking for support for, because someone else is applying for the cultural arts grant. For these signs.
People from the volunteers working all the time at the Pollinator Gardens requested, could we put some signage on what these plants are? Plant names.
Yeah.
So are you
I'm
saying,
hearing like people don't like this idea. I'm not sure why.
so are you saying like information about the plants, or just like little signs with like the plant, the common name and the species and the scientific name?
Yeah, and then maybe some little note that this is one of the Ecology plants. Maybe put a bumblebee insignia on it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and then you could have like one sign out at the front of the Ecology garden that says, look for the bumblebee symbol. These are, Ecology favorite plants or something.
That's a good idea.
So that,
This would be-
I guess so that there's
So
not
I'm not-
big signs like all over the place.
Have you ever seen little signs that are when you go to a garden?
Yeah, yeah.
Little,
like
that's
this
what we're
big.
talking about, I think. I can't see how this big is because I can't
sorry.
see.
Yeah, like the little plant tags that are like, I don't know, 4 inches or 6 inches long by, I don't know, 3 or 4 inches wide.
Like an index card, maybe?
Yeah.
They might be bigger than the tiny little ones that you can't read. And they might have, and they may have, I haven't seen the ones that are at the art show, so I can't say, but it would, and we can all talk about what it would be afterwards, but what, I'm thinking something little like that, and then maybe, like you said, on the new kiosk, we could have information on what it is. I'm not envisioning that the Ecology, it's a research garden. That's not really a public, unless we're giving tours. I don't think it's really a
Right.
go in and look and see what you see.
So you're saying more at the
This is-
Wildflower Hill Gardens?
Yep,
Mhm.
all of that.
Yeah.
And
I
maybe,
support that. I'm definitely supportive of that.
Me too.
Great idea.
personally, more than a kiosk, I think information on, the wildlife habitat that we're working on is the most important thing. And I'm not necessarily, I think other kinds of signage does a better job than a kiosk, but I'm not going to fight that battle. But I just don't see people going, we have the grassland bird habitat with no information anywhere really about what our efforts there are. We have the Wildflower Hill, no information about what our pollinator desires are, or why, it's pretty flowers, or the value of native plants, or the value of native plants in preventing the loss of 50%, 25%, 30% of our common backyard birds have disappeared in the last 50 years because we don't have native plants in our yards. I mean, we have some real teaching moments at Breakneck Hill that we don't have any, we're doing the work, but we're not getting the message out. And, maybe the new kiosk will help, but I just think there's opportunities we can have to get the message out when we're not there every day to talk to people. And anyone who's been there with me knows that if I see somebody looking at something, I'm trying to, engage and share the information of why we're doing what we're doing. But, if we had some signage doing that, I think there would be a benefit. Not necessarily for this grant round, but to be thinking about.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
And frankly, I'm willing to write up things that could go onto the kiosk even now about some of those initiatives. And happy to do that and run it by the committee.
And having the QR so it resides on our website is a great idea. I just, for the plants and stuff, I don't have time to write it up. And the issue is that there isn't a lot of on the particularly on the pollinator, there's not a lot of existing documentation there that I would, it's a problem we have on the Native Pollinator Task Force. People want to send out information and we're like, no, it's the wrong information. Why would we send it out? And so anyhow, so little plant signs are okay, and we can deal with the bigger issues at a kiosk and QR in the future. Is that what I'm hearing? Oh, and the signs on the post.
Yeah.
So you're saying basically some informative signs on the post, but then just little plant signs with the name of the species name and just like a symbol or something that indicates that it's a Ecology, whatever, winner, a good bee plant.
Yeah.
Good pollinator plant.
And we need something somewhere that explains what that is somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, and then on the post, it's not informative. It's a monarch way station. It's a wildlife habitat. We're a part of the million pollinator garden effort. Whatever we have to register with these organizations, there's a cost to that. And then you get the sign when you register your land and pay the price for the sign.
Yeah, I think I have maybe one kicking around my house, like a paper version of one from something that I registered the conservation land at some time ago, and I don't remember which one. It might be the Million Pollinator effort. I'll have to poke around my old files and see if I can find it, but I know I have a record of it, so I'm gonna add that to my list.
Okay, so I don't need a vote, but it's okay to move ahead and come back. We'll be meeting before October 15th deadline, right?
We can set a date as the last thing, so if that helps. Yeah. Storage shed bins.
So right now for the Ecology garden, we're storing stuff in leftover plastic bags from mulch. We are storing tools outside. We're storing you know, just all, you know, if you look at the Ecology garden, there's a whole section that's kind of storage. We have, so yeah. I don't know, would a bin do it? Community gardens have a shed.
Is this like a
This
deck
would
box,
also put a-
like a short bin that's long and you can put things in it and close it up? Is that what you're thinking, Freddie, or a stand up one?
I have no idea.
Oh, okay.
I just want something to put stuff in that's, you know, when you have volunteers, you know, believe me, I've done it. It's not like we're not there to work, but if you're there to work and then you have to walk down one road one way to turn the water on, and then you have to walk down, you know, the trail, you know, up the parking lot another way to get your equipment, and then you're working there, and what happens is people tend to have to go, and I'm there in the garden by myself. And now, oh, the water's got to be turned off. You know, and I've already put in a full day of work. So, or that there should be some place we have our stuff. Actually, I think we should have a shed somewhere, but I can't picture where it would be or how that would work, and I'm not even asking for it. But, and I don't even want to look into it. I'm just saying there's a need.
Yeah, I think it's reasonable. I'm just trying to think, even if I have something that I'm not using that's big enough, but I don't think I have anything that big. Is that something that we could just purchase and be reimbursed for by Conservation Commission? Like, but go to Melissa,
But
give
where-
her a receipt.
Where would it go? Where would it fit? I don't need us to decide now, but let's think about it. How's that?
Yeah, because I guess I was thinking inside the Ecology garden gate.
Yep. You could put
Yeah,
a-
I'm thinking,
go
I
ahead.
don't see any place there that really works.
Even up against
So
the
let's-
fence in the corner or something, you know, if you had well, what I'm thinking, I don't know your needs. So if it needs to be tall, this doesn't work. But if it just needs to be long and it's like a deck box, so it's a couple of feet high, then that could go nicely tucked in the corner, either inside the garden if there's enough room, or just on the outside of it. It kind of just blends in.
I can't picture where you're talking. We have, every corner has planting areas, so I'm not sure where you're thinking.
Well, maybe it's on the outside of the fencings, but just up against the fence, kind of, you know, neatly tucked black box or something. That's just kind of.
Yeah, I think we need to look and you know, come up with an idea. But yeah, thank you for. I'm just not busy. It's also hard. I've got this dog that's not well and not behaving well, so I apologize for any disturbance he's been. Yeah, that's enough on that. We can look at it and discuss it at our next meeting. It's nothing we have to do right now. Just think of ideas, and you know, the next time we're all there together for something, we could see what the needs are. Thinking some shovels, some hand tools.
Right.
Soapy water.
I like the idea of it being inside the gate, but I get about not wanting to use up planting area. So, but I like that distinction from community gardens too. Okay, so that's something we'll continue to think
Maybe
about.
we can put it over in Snakeland.
Well, that's true. There is Snakeland, the big pile of dirt there, right?
I'm not going over there ever again.
You know, there was a second sighting of a second snake.
If
Not
I
as big
ever
as the
see a
first
snake,
one?
it will be the last time you see me there. So let's just put it that way.
It was the
Yeah,
big,
don't go in that.
yeah,
So anyhow, enough with the snake. So we can move on
parking
from
lot.
that.
Still an issue, the parking lot. We had gotten an estimate of a couple thousand, I thought, from Twin Pines a couple of years ago.
Can you remind me what it needs? Just needs to be regraded and,
Like regraded and then some drainage issues.
Well, actually, some of that's different now because I thought there was something different. And when I was doing the walk with George, I asked, have you guys done anything? And DPW did come in and put gravel down. Remember when you came off the road, it was a new road recently repaved, and it was all breaking up because of the gravel didn't meet the road pavement and it was coming off in chunks. Well, they came in and did something. I don't know that they ever told us, but that was done. And there's newer gravel because also, you know, where we had a garden where those rocks were, and that's for another agenda to decide what we're doing there with the old viewing station for the cows and the split rail fence. Well, the parking lot's been pushed up very close to those rocks on top of where we had prior native plants, but everyone was driving over them anyhow. Remember there was a rock garden?
Yeah.
We had
bee balm and everything there.
Yeah, it had some nice plants. Well, I don't think there's much there anymore. And the pavement is like a few inches away from those rocks, and there was a whole, not pavement, but the gravel. And there's a whole, you know, there was a planting bed, and now there's a few inches. So, you know, that's just what is. It got, you know, it wasn't like they did it because it had been driven over. So I think the parking lot got a little bit enlarged. But at the same time, we had talked about the drainage issue, and it still gets big puddles. So that wasn't addressed. I think they just came in and put the gravel down and fixed it from the roadside and smoothed it around. But
so the remaining thing is the drainage.
We had talked about having the drainage flow off the parking lot into a small rain guard, not detention basin, but a small depression to infiltrate going into the wetlands. I mean, it's much better than it was.
Well,
But
it's also been dry.
yeah, we'll see next spring. How's that?
Yeah. And we have the money. It's a new fiscal year. There's probably money if we made it a priority with Twin Pines.
Yeah, but why don't we keep our eye on it in the rain and see what we want, and then also talk with Beth. I'm not really sure. I'm sorry, not Beth, Melissa.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure what the arrangement with DPW is. You know, sort of just like a golden opportunity. I don't know if it's because of the coronavirus that they're doing work there for the mowing of the trails and stuff. Is this temporary? Is this a long-term arrangement? Are they taking this on as part of their, you know, foreseeable future work? Or
Well, you're right. It's sort of the golden opportunity, and the head of DPW has told me multiple times that the crew likes working there. You know, it's like a pleasant environment for them because it's so beautiful. So let's keep an eye, and then we can maybe ask them to make that drainage into the potential area that would then flow into the wetland.
call it a rain garden.
Rain garden.
Yeah. You have to be careful how you phrase this. So yeah, I think we just keep our eye on it, and maybe we should thank them for doing the paving, you know, the whatever they put down. I wasn't aware it had been done until I noticed it recently.
Yeah, I was just there and I didn't notice it.
I mean, another question would be like, I mean, you're saying the term rain garden. I mean, I think there's more to it than just, you know, creating a depression. Like I think, like, you know, so I don't know how technical you mean, but when it's done in a technical sense, I think they put in different layers of like gravel and crushed stone of different sizes to try and aid with the infiltration.
So
So yeah, I
there's,
don't know if you're talking about something like a real technical, a rain garden, or just a little, what exactly you're talking about.
I'm talking about not using terms that alarm anyone, but getting the water off the parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
And it's knowing it's adjacent to a wetland. So
So
a
it's
technical, so I should not use the term rain garden because I have no vision of doing the technical creation of a rain garden with all the surfaces and everything. I just thought we could have a little place that would hold the water that's not the parking lot, which is no closer to the wetlands than the parking lot, but just.
Mm-hmm.
it's a simple settling area.
A settling area, let's call it that. I like that.
Settling area.
Settling, is that what you said?
Settling, yeah, they call them settling ponds.
Yeah, we're not making a pond.
Yeah. Puddle, settling puddle.
A settling puddle, yeah. And yeah, that'd be nice. And the other thing we were hoping to do was have some dirt there because the butterflies often, what's that called? Puddling?
Puddling. They puddle.
They get in the dirt that's wet and they get sulfur and salt, not sulfur, but salts and stuff off it. So maybe it's a settling pond for butterflies. Whatever.
Yeah, it's a
I don't
butterfly
I don't
pond.
need to take ownership of it, but
It's a
if we
butterfly.
make it too big a deal, it will never happen.
Well, we're just talking about a butterfly pond.
Don't call it a pond.
Yeah, just a butterfly pond.
Okay, we'll keep our eyes on that and see what's up with the what's up with as it rains and what's happening with drainage. The next item is grant opportunities for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services.
So actually, it's two things. It's the U.S. First of all, it's the Mass Fish and Game or Fish and Wildlife, whatever. There's that grant opportunity we've been talking about for a while, many years.
Yeah.
Mary Ann Pichet is the woman who helped design some stuff for us last year, and we didn't get the quotes, and we would need to get the quotes in if we wanted to apply this year using mostly the same information. I took a walk with her. It was like the night before she said she could do it, so I took her up on it, which is why you guys weren't all notified really. And she gave us some new information that some of which I shared with Joyce and Kat on a site walk we did with the orchardist, that would go into this new grant. Maybe we'll have to have a conversation about the scope, that, maybe changing it a little bit from what we talked about before, but everything pretty much the same. But what also happened is I've been connected with somebody from U.S. Fish and Wildlife, and I guess they have a big pollinator effort, and it's a federal wildlife agent and not wildlife agent, a biologist, and he was really busy when he agreed to come on to this, but this is important stuff, so I'm trying to be concise here. So because of the work with the Native Pollinator Task Force, I was hooked into connecting with him, and he had been in Lincoln working with Lincoln on a project they're doing, and Rob was there, and then they started talking about Breakneck Hill. So because I'm just trying to make the value of this regional group evident, because of that, he knew about us, and I'm not exactly sure what this program does, except for he's a wildlife biologist. When he takes on a property, he helps provide expertise, and he also looks for funding resources for you, and also there may be some federal monies he can tap into. And Lincoln was dealing with him because they were going to do a burn. And remember, we talked about a burn, but we thought that was all off because of, coronavirus. I didn't even think they were going to have this grant, the state grant that we're talking about, which when we looked at it last year, they funded mostly burns. Turns out there is no, to have a burn, you have to have a burn boss, somebody who's in charge of running the burn. And the guy who did Massachusetts was the Massachusetts burn boss. It's a private private company, I guess. He was only one, and he's not doing it anymore. So Lincoln isn't doing a burn, but they're hooked in with this gentleman, and he's now hooked in with us. But he was busy since, I have to get back in touch with him, I think, this week. The benefit there is the state wildlife grant, the $50,000 we can apply for. I looked at it again. There's some gaps maybe in the information Mary Ann Techay gave us, and the RFP has gone out, so she can't talk to us anymore. But we can talk to the federal guy because he's not the state,
Right.
he's not under the state limit, so he can provide us some information. I have no idea what working with him will be like, but it sounds like it's pretty, could be pretty awesome, especially if he can write the grant for us. Fill in the blanks, right? So I guess, the grant's due October 15th. And as we've always talked about doing it, and there's nothing really new in it, I'm hoping to that it's not a big deal to move forward on this grant.
And when this one meaning the mouse one or the U.S. Fish and Wildlife right now this time?
There is no grant from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife right now.
Oh, I see. That he's going to maybe help us connect two opportunities for funding. So moving forward on the other one, nothing new. Right. Got it.
Nothing new except for if you want to go over what we did with our walk with the orchardist.
So
adding
Freddie
that in.
and I and Kat met with this orchardist, certified arborist orchardist from Harvard on Saturday and walked the property and examined the trees and got some insights into his advice on trees that are salvageable and trees that are not, and what he would look for in terms of making those determinations. And it had to do with like what it takes to maintain a tree, and given the size of the property and what it takes to access it, like what do you have to come in with ladders and this and that and the other thing. And so looking for trees that are have healthy crowns and maybe certain shapes but not too tall, and thinking about the kind of pruning that would have to happen on certain trees and that kind of thing. And so we talked about areas of trees that were probably worth saving and ones that weren't. There was a few right from the parking lot on Wildflower Hill, a few on that trail that goes to the left, that the new trail, a few there that he thought were worthwhile saving, and then some down in that sort of vista beyond between the pond and the community gardens. But many also earmarked that we would go back and actually physically mark kind of, oh, sorry, Kat, yes.
I think we lost Freddie.
Oh,
But since she was there, maybe it's never okay that we lost Freddie, but she's familiar with the topic.
yeah, we still have quorum, so maybe she'll dial back in. So Tom, if you could keep an eye if Freddie needs to be admitted. She probably, maybe her phone ran out of charge or something.
I was wondering, yeah. I'm gonna text her.
Okay. So anyway, I think the plan is for probably Freddie and me and anyone else interested to get out there with different color ribbon and mark the trees, which ones we would want salvaged versus not, so we can get more precise estimates to use in any grant application. It was quite informative. We learned about apple scab. We learned about some of the other trees, identifying some of the other trees, and
Some pear trees. Did you guys know? Everybody know there's pear trees? That's news to me.
yeah, I knew they're right near the restored wetlands, in fact, and there was pears so close to being within reach. Yeah. So that, and this guy is very reasonably priced if he were someone that we might consider, getting, using his written proposal as part of the grant application. His hourly rate seemed very reasonable. I forget what it was, but I remember being surprised.
$40 an hour.
Yeah, $40 an hour, and I was expecting probably more like 65 or 85 or something. But he was also saying, like he wouldn't be going in there with heavy equipment, and I mean, he's like it seemed like maybe a one-man operation.
Yeah, I did get a sense that he had a team of people. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so but he would talk about how you examine a tree and make determinations about pruning and whatnot. And, seasonal stuff matters because seeing the tree, so marking the trees now matters so that when the leaves are gone, it's a different vision of that tree and what your understanding of its health is when you see no leaves on the whole tree. Whereas right now, part of a tree might be leafed out and part not, in that sort of status of a tree may not be clear in winter. So, all told, he also said that he would not be able to haul stuff out. Like that's a limit of his particular that also is something that kept his estimate lower. So he'd be more about maintaining trees that are healthy, helping us select and deal with those. I think it would be somebody else would get an estimate from. So in fact, I need to make a date for that site walk for anyone who wants to help me mark trees. And I think we'll just need a couple of colors of ribbon.
I'm happy to help. Just go ahead volunteering. And I have a green ribbon and a orange ribbon.
Yeah, I have maybe pink and orange. I'm not sure.
I will note that the green ribbon or yellow, whatever it is, it's an awful color because it fades. So that's my experience with that. But as long as we have a color code, then, and we know that, then it just moves if you wanna.
Right. And the orange and pink can look very similar, actually. So might want to, think about that. Or maybe I have to get to Home Depot, so maybe I'll get some other ribbons too. So anyway, that's the story of the orchardist, and that would be part of this grant application. So
The
there's-
one due on the 15th, Joyce?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, because we're waiting on something in writing from him. Also, I just want to follow up to something Freddie said. I'm sorry she's not here, but I'm pretty sure because I'm a federal employee, I'm not allowed to meet or represent us in any way to another federal program, even though it's completely different departments and stuff. I'll have to check with my standards of conduct and ethics restrictions on and stuff like that. But I'm pretty sure that I would have, I could be probably present, but I couldn't represent us as chair to him, or her. So I'm going to look into that.
So Freddie did text that she is trying to log back in.
Okay. But I think that let's give her a minute. So Tom, I don't know if you'll need to admit her, Freddie, if she does successfully dial in. But we don't see anyone waiting. I don't know that I would see anyone waiting, right?
In the attendees, we don't have any right now. Oh, it looks like she's almost in. I'm going to allow her to talk. I just had that option and I'm going to unmute her. Maybe I didn't unmute her. Oh, unmute. Freddie, can you?
Freddie?
Still muted.
Still muted. Yeah, it looks like my unmute. I have no power.
I'm here, but you're not going to be able to hear me, so I'm going to mute myself.
Oh, we can hear you now.
I know, but you're not going to be able to. Go ahead.
Oh, I went through the orchardist and was hoping we could set a time for anyone who wants to go out and mark the trees with colored ribbon. I could probably go out Saturday this weekend.
Okay. I could join you.
This Saturday.
Okay, so I'll send out, I prefer to do it a little bit on the early side because it can get so hot.
Yeah. Works for me. Well, how early?
I think it's cooling down this weekend. I think this is our last couple of days of warm.
Oh, thanks. So maybe, I don't know, is 9 a.m. okay?
Of course. I was just curious. 7's hard on a Saturday.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm not committing at this point, but I kind of just have to see how things are looking for us. We just, we have a lot of our plates with the beginning of the school year.
Yes, of course. I think if there's a couple of, at least two of us, can be maybe pretty efficient in going through. And Kat, if you're there, she and I both were part of the discussion with the orchardist. And Freddie, if you're able to join, or Jim, great.
Yeah, Freddie, I think are you doing work days this weekend? Does anyone, I think she posted, if you guys remember.
Probably she is. So 9 a.m. Saturday.
Okay. The answer is yes, but I have such a wonderful crew that if I have stuff set up that they can do it themselves.
Sweet.
All right.
Or, get them started. So yeah, whatever time you guys do. And
all right. Great. We'll say maybe 9:15 to give Freddie some wiggle room to get her crew started. 9:15 Saturday. And we can meet at the
Trailhead parking lot.
The Trailhead parking lot. Yeah. And Kat, if you could bring your ribbon and I'll bring I'll make sure to have some as well.
Gotcha.
And we'll just
Can
be,
you make sure,
Was that
can you be sure we're using 2 colors consistent and not just 2 colors? So
correct,
what
yeah.
color do you have? What color do you have, Joyce, and what color do you have? We can't run out. If somebody could buy some and then make sure we have enough. There's like a lot of trees.
Right.
I'm not,
I love buying ribbon. I do.
did you say you like to?
I do. I love buying ribbon.
I have
Well,
a,
get what color? Red and green?
Yeah, I think so. Green for go and red for no.
I have a whole roll.
Yeah,
of
that makes
pink.
sense.
Oh,
Jim-
wait, Jim? What's that, Jim?
I have a whole roll of real heavy duty pink.
Heavy duty pink.
Oh, there's
We
heavy.
don't want pink. Can we say we don't want pink because we're flagging pussy willows and other trees in pink, and we don't want to confuse any people. Even though it may not seem like it's a big deal.
No, I like that idea because I really don't like pink. I'd rather not.
Well, there'll be plenty of pink. You know.
I don't know
maybe.
what colors I have. I think I probably have orange and pink, but I
Can't-
can try and
Can't
get
we
out.
Can't we just buy red and green, and then
Yeah.
submit the invoice,
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
and we're all set?
I'm
If
happy
she's
to-
willing to do it.
I'm happy to help with that, be that person. And I'll absorb the tax because I know tax is not reimbursable in Southborough.
Well, if you go to like Lowe's, I don't know where you buy it, but you can get a tax exempt ID sheet from the accounting office. You have to be willing to stand an extra 15 minutes in line while they figure it out, but
I like donating my tax dollars. We'll just do that.
okay.
So Kat, you're gonna get the ribbon then? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
All right, terrific.
Red.
So
And
for
get
anyone,
lost.
just let me know. I'll try and text out a reminder Friday night or Saturday morning. So like you just text me if you're gonna make it so that I will be waiting for you. But the meeting place will be the trailhead by the kiosk, 9:15 Saturday morning. And great. So that takes us through. And then because without those trees, that's an important part to get other pieces together for that grant. Is there anything else we need to touch on?
Why there is. Somebody who was doing volunteer work mentioned that it is one of the rare full moon October 31st. And they'd like to do a moonlight Halloween walk at Breakneck Hill.
Wouldn't that be fun
And-
with glow sticks? I love it.
So I suggested that it would have to be through the stewards, and if the stewards didn't want to host it, because of our workload, that we could at least approve it. The Open Space Commission would host. I think a town entity should be the hoster because it gets good PR for the work we do. And I do have one person who's willing to do a lot of the heavy lifting. I don't know if you've met her, Catherine. I'll say her last name incorrectly, but she's willing to help with like getting information out. And we also have to do some research on how many people, how you can do it, at what numbers. And it would have to be first come, first serve. Could we do 2 different walks, for younger kids earlier, if it was a high rate of interest? And maybe that's something, was it you, Kat, who said you know how to do the invites?
Yes, I could help with the registration.
So maybe I could, if the Stewardship Committee wanted to do this, that I could put Kat in touch with Catherine so that it's a shared workload. And then the stewards, I think it would be nice, like if Joyce, particularly as chair, but somebody else were there, could, do a little introduction. And if Joyce can't make it, somebody else could. But, just a welcome from the stewards and, sort of not a lot, but just talk about that the land is so beautiful and whatever, because the work you do. That's my tip.
So you're talking about for Halloween night?
Yeah, what night is that?
I think it
I know
might
it's October 31st.
I think it might be, I think it might be a Saturday this year. I mean, do we know the
Let me
status?
look.
Are you thinking more for adults or for families? Do we know
I
the
think
status?
it's on a Saturday night.
Saturday,
And
yeah.
I think years ago, the Appalachian Mountain Club did one,
Oh,
and it was fun. Did you go on that? What's her name? She was on. Yeah, she. It was through the Appalachian Mountain Club, and it was a lot of fun. I'm up to whatever the stewards think, and we also have to be aware that it has to be registration because of COVID. I think if you're doing an event, you want to be able to do tracking. We have to make sure everyone knows you have to wear a mask to attend, which might be kind of fun, what kind of mask you want to wear on Halloween. But I would suggest that somebody needs to look into the logistics. Like, what time does it get dark on October 31st? Do you want to have it at an early one? And Jen, maybe you know better with children. What time would work for you? We're not going to be trick-or-treating, but we're going to go on a full moon walk. And it will be...
I have to say my family is super into Halloween, and we would probably, unless Halloween gets canceled, like if trick-or-treating is canceled, we will probably stick to our usual.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
so what time is it?
As far as timing, like I would say people start, probably the young ones are probably trick-or-treating around 6 or 6:30. Usually,
the sun sets at 5:40, just so you know.
yeah, so that sounds about right, what I'm saying then, right? But yeah, the younger kids are going like, either they have dinner after or they have a very early dinner and they go early. And then probably most people are between 7 and 8, maybe.
Do you think people are doing trick-or-treating this year?
I don't know. That's what I said. Like, we haven't heard anything about it.
I'm not saying heard, but would you do it if it was allowed?
Oh yeah, we would do it.
So
okay.
we might also want to consider a COVID release, like, if people are registering, there's a release form in town that people are using, then we might want to just say, I accept my own personal responsibility, and I'm not gonna hold your event accountable for any kind of transmission. We can use the town's language and have a little check.
Can you get me that for my other event? I hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah, I can send it to you, Freddie. It could just be a little checkbox in the registration process to make it very easy for people. I'll send
and I know had you sent it out, or was it from my Ecology thing that there's information from like Appalachian Mountain Club or other groups on COVID procedures for trail walks and things?
No, but I did see the phase 3 that they had some guidelines, but do you want me to look and find some information that would be helpful for you?
Well, when no, my task force I can send it out to you, but I wasn't sure who had the information. So I'm looking for our more for the hike on the trails, but yeah, it would be good for me to have it. Somebody sent it to me recently. I just don't know which email address and from whom.
Yeah, it was not me, if that's helpful.
Okay. That narrows it down to 200 people.
Not 201.
Yeah, if you can do it, I think there's information out there about doing nature events outdoors in the safest manner. And, you know, we haven't had big crowds, so, you know, what's the limit? Outdoor activities are capped at 50 people.
Yep.
The problem is if we had 50 people at Breakneck Hill, we could stagger people walking, you know.
Or 50 people at Breakneck Hill.
Yeah, that's the other issue between the two parking lots. I mean, we have some time, so Kat can, and working with Catherine, can figure it out. Like maybe Jim, you might have some knowledge on how many people we'd cap it at. I heard there's the trustees, somebody mentioned the trustees were having one at Chestnut Hill Farm that sold out. Ours will be free, of course. And if it's sold out, there might be a lot of interest in doing it. The question is it for people with kids or is it for adults? I mean, it could be, I mean, for both, but is it, you're gearing it towards kids, it's a different time. And we're not doing trick or treating, so we'll make that clear. It's a moonlit walk, right?
Yeah. Well,
Maybe go check out the trustees registration, what they did. That's a clue.
I'm gonna look at the moonrise October 31st. So it says, oh, never mind. Doesn't say anything.
I just keep hearing there's a full moon on, it's the first, one of the rare times there's a full moon on October 31st.
Yes, I see that.
So I put the idea out there. Do the stewards want to, do we need a vote to say we're going to host this? We will investigate full safety compliances, and certainly if anything changes with the state, we will follow whatever the recommendations are at the time, and we will set up a registration that will have the right limits of the people, the numbers, and they have to register to attend, each individual, and mask and safe distancing, of course.
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic idea. I guess, yeah, it requires a little more investigation. Like you said, is it for kids or is it for adults? What time? Is it 2 walks? Is it 1? That kind of thing. But I like it. I don't think I've ever walked there at night.
It's the
I
best
bet you
place
Jim
to
has.
do it, right? It's very wide open and you feel safety in numbers.
Yeah, I keep trying to find this Chestnut Hill Farm thing, and I keep getting dead ends.
Well, maybe it's not there. Maybe once it filled up, maybe somebody was mistaken.
No, well, I don't know. Something is saying. Oh wait, that's 2019. That's not this year. Oh, I don't know. I don't know yet, I guess.
I don't even know who told me it. One of those 200 people I was talking about.
Is
Somebody
orange
did.
flagging tape okay over red? That's more available.
What are you talking about?
Do we care if it's orange or red flagging? All right.
Orange will be good for Halloween.
Okay, that's what we got. Thank you.
And it stands out more.
Okay, it's purchased.
That was easy.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so to end this, are we done? I mean, is that okay? Do you like the idea? Are we doing it? And Joyce, did you want to be the? Well,
Yeah, I'm
we need
happy.
to meet. We need to meet in early October anyhow because of all the grants.
Yeah, I was going to say, before we go, can we look at our October calendars for meetings? The Concom is meeting tomorrow, so that means they're meeting again October 1st. Do you want to try and meet?
Is there some reason we tie into their meetings now?
No, I just know sometimes we meet on Thursdays, and so I try and make sure we're not on a conservation Thursday.
What day is today? I'm kind of confused.
Today's the 9th.
I know it's a night.
Today's a
It's a Thursday
Wednesday.
today?
Today's Wednesday.
What?
Yeah, I messed up. Today's Wednesday. So we could meet as soon as September 30th or the following week.
I prefer the following week. Because I have the 3rd is a big day that I might need that time to be preparing still.
Okay, so what day so the week of October 5th? Is there a day that's especially good for folks?
I cannot do the Monday.
Any
Let's do
Anytime.
Wednesday if you guys can do Wednesday.
Is Wednesday okay, October 7th?
Yes, as far as I know.
At 6:30?
Yeah,
Looks good to me.
Jim's
This
nodding.
is it's temporary for me. I'm not playing bells for the time being,
Right.
but I reserve to take my Wednesdays back in the future.
Okay, so I'm gonna mark us for, and I'll get that thing in the next day or so to Tom for October 7th at 6:30 p.m. Oh, I'm sorry, not 7th. Wait, I'm looking at the wrong month. Hold on.
Yeah, October 7th is the Wednesday.
Oh, right. Okay, October 7th, 6:30 p.m. will be our next stewardship meeting. And yeah, great. And this Saturday will be the site walk for marking trees. Anything else? Any other business? Okay, well, then it is 9:28. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone. And Tom, you can stop recording. Our meeting is adjourned.
Jim,
Oh, wait, Jim?
I moved to adjourn the meeting. Is that what
Oh.
you're looking for, Jim?
We don't need that.
Do we not?
I don't know.
What?
Motion to adjourn. No?
Do we
We
usually?
usually do that.
Yeah, we moved to adjourn. Kat moves,
Do
Catherine.
I have a second?
I second.
So Jenny second, Kat and Jim made the motion. All in favor? Jenny,
I support.
Jim,
I support.
Kat,
Yes, I support.
Freddie,
In favor.
and I support. The motion passes. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you,
And Tom, you